when I came to New York, to play with Art Blakey. I wound up started playing with guys like Pete LaRocca. I played with Alan Dawson, and me and Alan were very close. Oh yeah, played with Alan in Boston a lot. Played with Bobby Ward. As a matter of fact, Bobby Ward's on my record. And of course I played with Elvin. And I wound up playing with some of the greatest drummers that ever lived. Art Blakey is probably one of the absolute greatest drummers, one of the five absolute greatest drummers of all time. Art Blakey loved music. He loved music. He loved playing. That was his life. He used to tell us, when we get on the bandstand, don't mess up, because that's the only place where he tells the truth. Well, not the only place, but that's sacred to him. And he gave his all. He gave 100,000,000,000%, and he expects no less of you. And the lessons you learn from Art, you learn about the history, because he infused the pride of the history. He would tell you stories about Bird, Fats Navarro, Clifford Brown, Miles Davis, and all these stories that he was a part of, Billy Eckstine, Dizzy Gillespie, and he still had very high reverence for these guys. He felt like as each one of them were passed or was still here, he was still holding the torch that they all held together. And he made you feel like playing with him, you were holding that torch too. You know, so you wanted to get up there and you wanted to represent Miles and Clifford and Fats and Sonny Stitt, and you want to be worthy of Bird's name and Dizzy's name. That's what he made you feel like. And he encouraged you to write. He encouraged you to write. And I got the sense he encouraged you to write because he also knew that that was the thing that was going to give you longevity as well. That was going to complete your artistry, you know? And it definitely brought a fresh thing to his band if each person wrote, because you're writing from your point of view. But it's also extending who you are. And I mean, he was just beautiful. He was positive. Most positive man that one of the most positive men I have ever met. Art Blakey, idol was Chick Webb. And you heard that in his playing. You heard Chick Webb and you heard the innovations of Kenny Clarke in his playing. And I know he admired Sid Catlett, but his primary idol was Chick Webb. He was powerful. That's number one. He was powerful. The man was powerful, sheer power. And he was very polyrhythmic without losing the essence of musicality. This man, to me, he was the Thelonious Monk of the drums. Him and Monk were perfect to me, you know. And he had chops, but chops took second place to the music, you know. I mean, and he would play things underneath you that would just make you react and make you. In essence, Tony was a lot like Art. Art was one of his idols, you know. Roy Haynes came directly out of that, and Roy Haynes was extremely creative. We know how creative Roy wound up being, you know. But Art Blakey was the father of. I mean, he was really those triplets that he used to play behind you. I mean, he'd mix those triplets up behind you and then bring you out with a press roll. Man, and it was unbelievable. Blow your horn. Ooh, he would holler, ooh, stuff. But if you were playing, he'd say, get out of that hole. You know, make a career out of that phrase. So he had a lot of things he would say, you know, but he was always encouraging. And no matter what, afterwards he would encourage you to do better, or he never felt angry at anybody, unless you disrespected him. Oh, if you disrespected him, or you didn't like that side of him. But he was a beautiful, beautiful man. Beautiful. If he had money in his pocket and you need it, he'd give it to you. You know, you need a chance to play, you on his bandstand. He'd let everybody play. And if you didn't deserve to, he'll let you play. Then he'll tell you, now go back and practice. Come back, you know, when you get it together. But that bandstand, it was the highest honor to play in his band, and it was also the training ground for the whole jazz scene. Art Blakey was the one of all the musicians that really kept jazz alive. When jazz was starting to go other directions, and it was valid, he was the one that was pushing for uncompromising straight-ahead jazz and hiring young kids. And making young kids feel that if they practice and really try to come at this earnestly, they could have a chance to play with the Messengers. And being with the Messengers was a ticket to being a star. And he gave you that hope. He gave everybody that hope. You know, where other bands were some great bands out there, they were probably hiring more of their own peers or older people. Art Blakey was actively looking for young guys that was going to be the next Lee Morgan. That's going to be the next Wayne Shorter. That's going to be the next Hank Mobley. Because when he had those guys, they were 18 years old, you know. He gave advice to everybody all the time. So I wasn't exclusive in that deal. But I remember one time he was telling me how to approach the microphone. He was saying to me that when you start out the solo, that he wanted you to step away a little bit from the mic and, you know, and don't play full out, you know, just kind of speak into the mic. And then as you start to build and get more forte, start to back away just a little bit, you know, and back away. So you actually step close to the mic, but not, you know, just a little, not kiss it, but step close to it and speak into it. And then as you get louder, just build, bring it back. And it worked because the sound, the intensity of your sound, you could feel the air from, you know, you get the ambiance of what you're doing, the power that you're putting out as you're building. So I thought that was really cool, you know. Another thing he said is when you double up, don't stop swinging. And I remember that was a great lesson because, you know, we all have a tendency to try to double up just to be impressive. But he made you not double up he made me not double up for a couple gigs. So when I do, that I'd be swinging just like I was, you know, I'd be saying something, as you would say. Philly Joe. Philly Joe, I played with Philly Joe when I was 16. I sat in with him at a club called Ali's Ali. I wanted to come to New York because I knew that's where all the great musicians were. And I organized a school trip from my school, Duke Ellington and the School of the Arts, to come do a gig in New York or play in New York. And Mickey Bass was our band director, and he set up a place for us to play. But one night we were all hanging out. We went to hear all these great musicians, and we went to Ali's Ali, and Philly Joe was playing there. And he told Philly about me, and Philly said, "Oh yeah, well, let me hear him." And man, that was the one day I didn't have my horn. I always brought my horn with me, always. But people kind of make you feel guilty, you know. Why you always bring your horn? You bring your horn with you even when you go to the store. Note to you people, bring your horn, even if you go to the store. I did, and I never not did it again because I didn't have my horn. But there was a trumpet player named Dewey Johnson. He was there, and he had a horn in the back. And he let me borrow it. So I went up there and I played Confirmation. And when I got through playing, Philly grabbed me and said, "We found a partner." And that's when I first played with Philly, and that was magnificent. Philly Joe idol was Sid Catlett. And you hear a lot of Sid Catlett and Kenny Clarke and Max Roach and Buddy Rich in Philly. Philly really admired Buddy. A lot of the great drummers, Max did too, I realized later, really admired. I don't think Art was so taken by Buddy, but they were friends. They were really good friends. But I think Art it was definitely coming out of Chick Webb. But Philly was very influenced by those kind of drummers that played that way, snare drum bass drummers, like Sid Catlett, like Buddy, and Max. He loved Max. And he had some Art Blakey in him too. I mean, if you asked him, he would have said Art was his main influence. But you know, you could hear, and then when you hear him talk, you could see the influence of these guys on him. And Philly could swing. Oh man. Buhana was number one. I would say Philly's number two. Philly could swing, man. I mean, like magic. You know, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I mean, just right. Just right. That's what I would say. Joe Jones, well, Max Roach was playing at the 7th Avenue South. And I mean, they were charging premium cover for Max, man. I mean, and lines were around the block. I mean, people were paying out their minds to see Max. And after Max's week was up, the following week on Wednesdays, Joe Jones would play at this club called the West End Cafe. This particular night, after Max played, the week after Max played, I went to the West End Cafe to see Joe Jones, and it was packed, man. I mean, it was packed. I think it was packed like I've never seen it packed. And we got up there, we kind of got inside of there, and Joe Jones wasn't playing. Max Roach was playing, and it was for free. Max was playing, and it was just Max. And this guy was standing there in front of the drums, or at the side of the drums, and we looked, and the guy was pantomiming while Max was playing, and Max was playing all this beautiful stuff, and then after Max would play all this stuff, he would occasionally point to the sock symbol, and Max had to play the sock symbol. And then and as he pointed to it, Max would play. Then when he stopped pointing and started freestyle pantomiming, Max was free to play some more. The guy that was pantomiming was Joe Jones, Papa Joe. Papa Joe couldn't play that night, so he had Max play for him. It was great. And you know, you'd go down there and you'd see all those guys down there whenever Joe Jones was playing. All of them would come. Charlie Purser would be down there, Max, Jack DeJohnette. Whoever was in town was going to go, you know, see Joe Jones and show their love for him, you know. And Max Roach used to say, 3 out of every 4 beats belong to Joe Jones. Wow, I met Kluke. I met him twice. I met him when I played with this saxophone player, Chico Freeman, and he came down to see Freddie Waits. Amazing. I mean, seemed like everybody had reverence for Kluke. Everybody. Buhana had a great love for Kluke. Max idolized Kluke. Philly Joe idolized Kluke. Philly really, you can hear, Philly really legitimately comes from Kluke's school of playing, you know. There's nobody I knew that didn't have a beautiful thing to say about Kenny Clarke, you know. And I love listening to him. I especially love the records he made with Monk. I loved, you know, it just seemed like him and, I think Art Blakey was the best with Monk. But I would say second was Kluke, and then third was Max. Then I would say Roy and Shadow. But Kluke, I think Kluke had, they had a sophisticated swing, you know, together. And Kluke, well, Kluke was the father of modern drums, you know. Joe Jones might be the godfather, but Kluke was the father. You know, what can you say? Oh Man, I love Max Roach. Max Roach, oh, I never played with Max Roach, but man, he was one of my biggest supporters. And you know, I was one of his biggest fans. And he used to come see Art Blakey all the time. He's made me aware of Art's history in this music within his own history, because Art was older and Art was playing with Billy Eckstine and all that before he had actually played with Bird. With that said, this man is modern drums. Clarke was probably the father, and Art Blakey was the fire, but man, Max had to be he was poetic. He was Max. I understood why Tony said that was his biggest influence. This man made the drum set sound like a choir. And I'm so thankful. This man, when I first put together my band, he came down and heard my band and came every night for 2 weeks at this club called the Downbeat Club and supported us and encouraged us and talked to me. And I mean, he was and sincerely and telling me what I had to do and my responsibility to the music and Wallace Roney, I'm so proud of you, he would say to me. And that made me feel so good hearing that from Max Roach. As a matter of fact, towards the end of his life, we were in Israel and he was in Israel. And I guess he wasn't doing that well, but he just kept saying, Wallace, I'm proud of you. And I said, Max, you know, I made a record called No Room for Argument. And I put a dedication on there for you. You're part of the whole record. And all he kept saying was, Wallace Roney, I'm so proud. You know, I remember we were playing at the Downbeat, and we had this song called Melchizedek. It was a very intricate song, and Max loved it, man. He said, man, what's the name of that song? That complicated head y'all were playing. And he was teasing a young trumpet player or older trumpet player about they couldn't play that song. And Max was just beautiful, man. I went to see Max as much as I could, man. I went because it was just a joy to listen to this man play. I saw him play for dancers, just solo drums and dancers. I mean, it was just magnificent. He would tell you, we must document our story. We must document. He would encourage us all to do it. It's funny because at the end, I think I don't know if he did, but he definitely was an advocate of it. I'm telling you, between him and Art Blakey, you really have the genius of inspiration for music. Drummers have, if you just listen to those two, well, you got to throw Clarke in there and Roy, but those two are the head of it. You can find your way through anything musically. You can find your own, you know. But that's drummers. But the rest of the music scene, trumpet players, saxophone players, piano players, he was such an inspiration. Those two, Art and his way of directly influencing you, you know, and Max in his way by influencing and encouraging you by example. These guys, kings.